Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, why do I have to do the intro for this one? They know I hate scary movies. This is dumb. Anyway, I'm Aimee Nash, and on this week's episode of Texan Entertainment News, we're going to be talking about horror movies. We've got some neat content for you today, including the news, another Texan Entertainment News Top 10, and for the first time, a retro review. Let's jump in with the Texan Entertainment News Top 10 for this week. Take it away, Jack.
Man, I'm excited. I've never done one of these before. This is pretty neat. Anyway, I love horror movies. I like being scared, and I've been watching spooky flicks since I was like a little tyke. Needless to say, the horror genre hasn't always been known for producing consistently well-made movies. But there's a select few out there that have proven with time to be some of the best movies ever made, and definitely some that will forever be in our hearts. As long as, someone doesn't like rip our hearts out or anything like that. Anyway, let's kickstart this list up. Number 10 is The Birds. You'd be hard-pressed to find someone who hasn't heard of this, and with good reason. The director of this 1963 horror flick is Alfred Hitchcock, one of the greatest film directors ever known. The Birds was about a city in California that, for no explained reason, is attacked mercilessly by avian predators throughout the course of the movie. This movie was terrifying back in its day, and still one that'll have you sidestepping to avoid pigeons on the sidewalk. What made this movie so great, though, wasn't even our feathery friends. It's the fact that it never tells us why. Hitchcock manages to send the viewers on a thrill ride from start to finish without ever telling you why it's happening in the first place. Number 9 belongs to a group of movies. I classify them all together because they all sort of fit in one very similar category. These are the character movies. It's films like the Friday the 13th series, Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and the Chucky movies, and all those other similar flicks. These all scare the viewers for a short time, like a good roller coaster, while still managing to make you avoid dolls or dark street corners. Character-based horror flicks rely on the use of a specific character, such as Jason, Freddy, Chucky, and so forth, to present the fright. These are all becoming increasingly rare, as most modern horror movies find ways to provide terror using non-story methods such as false jump scares. These veterans managed to scare the living daylights in their respective 5 to 12 movies, or however many Jason movies there are now. Number 8 is Poltergeist. Poltergeist is a 1982 movie about a family haunted by ancient ghosts trying to get to their youngest daughter. Unlike most modern movies, the course of the movie manages to remain creepy, setting an atmosphere a lot of movies lack. It's also the source of the famous scene parodied multiple times in things such as Family Guy, where a little girl's turning from a staticky TV screen saying, "They're here." Number 7 is Dawn of the Dead. This movie is one of the top zombie movies of all time, and it was sort of the start to a huge wave of upcoming zombie flicks. They used to be lumped into horror, but now they are slowly becoming their own genre. Dawn of the Dead is one of the pioneers in this area. It gave laughs, semi-likable characters, and a foundation for the parody version, Shaun of the Dead. Number 6 is the 1986 version of Little Shop of Horrors. While this may not necessarily be a jump scary movie, it's a horror thanks to Audrey 2, the evil plant. This flick is an adaptation of an adaptation, with the original being a comedy horror that became a comedy rock musical horror. The 1986 film starring Rick Moranis was very well received and opened a door to something strange and unique in the horror genre. Number 5 is The Conjuring. It's another story of famous paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. Their reports inspired the Amityville horror movie and its remake, and The Conjuring story is sort of a follow-up one to the story used in the movie Annabelle. This movie excels in creating an atmosphere that gives you the willies without taking it too far. Like any good roller coaster, it saves all the big scares for the end, while giving you characters that you want to root for. The Conjuring is absolutely a must-see. Number 4 is Carrie, the original version. It's an adaptation of a Stephen King novel, and he has yet to disappoint. Carrie is very gruesome, so I won't go into details about its plot, but it does involve the infamous scene of the title character getting covered in pig's blood at her prom. It's dark, gross, and creepy. It's only been remade twice so far, but both of the remakes fell short of the quality of the original, and for a good reason. Number 3 is The Exorcist. It's about the demonic possession and exorcism of a 12-year-old girl. It was part of a slew of possessed children's-based movies in the 60s and 70s, but this one is the one that stood out the most. It's terrifying on a disturbing level. Considering the fact that this was shortly after the point where Psycho was considered a mortifying experience, this film has had a significant influence on horror and pop culture. Number 2 is The Ring. The Ring isn't scary for real gore or for jump scares, but because of its reliance on dread. Like The Grudge, it's a remake of a Japanese film, and it was met with absolute critical acclaim. The Ring is a psychological horror film messing with your mind and using visuals that disturb the viewer without buckets of blood. To this day, it's one of the highest grossing horror movies of all time. Number 1 is The Shining. If you haven't seen it yet, you're really missing out. Yet another Stephen King novel, this one reigns supreme thanks to several what-the-heck moments and a stellar performance by Jack Nicholson. The film differs greatly from the novel but stands on its own feet as what critics have now looked back on and called a masterpiece. It was first given mixed reviews, but it's only grown in love through time. And speaking of The Shining, we've got something new for you today. I'm going to hand y'all over to our guest writer, Ashley Ford, with a retro review on The Shining.
Good afternoon, Texas Entertainment News. My name is Ashley Ford, and today I'm going to give a critique on The Shining to see if it holds up to today's standards of film and horror. Let's jump right in. The camera angles in The Shining are always lingering far behind the characters, allowing the viewer to see all that is surrounding them, which is usually big empty space as they stay in the vacant hotel. Viewers jump when shots are up close, even if it's not scary at the time, because the viewer is not used to being that up close to the characters. The unpredictable camera angles create the suspense. Also helping with suspense is the constant eerie music playing. The movie never plays a happy melody except for the dinner party. High-pitched instruments ring through the viewer's ears as suspense is built up, or even in the non-scary scenes. By playing eerie music during the non-scary scenes gives the viewer that unexpected scare factor that keeps them on their toes, also reassuring them nothing about this hotel is right. Characters are very believable, even for today's standards. The mother in The Shining could use a little bit of work, but when always being caring and worried, it's hard to see the complexity of the character. The father is continually unpredictable due to his stress level as he goes mad throughout the film, allowing the viewer to get sucked into his madness with him. Makeup done in the film looks so realistic, even though I've never seen tons of blood rush out of an elevator, nor a decomposed 80-year-old woman. After watching The Shining, now I can. With the movie being filmed in 1980, the picture is not fuzzy or old looking. You're going to jump in this movie, even when they display the day of the week, you'll jump. The scenes involving the son are the most jumpy. Since he has his innocence, when he sees the horrors of the hotel, they are extra jumpy because they are from the boy's perspective. Bloody images are displayed in slides going back and forth from reality to the horror. But when the horrors of the hotel are seen by the father, it's not so much jumpy, but more interestingly terrifying. Sometimes horror scenes are displayed in multiple times, but for short periods, or the two twin girls will be staring at you for a solid minute. No matter how long the horror scenes are, they are always grotesque, bloody, believable, and will make you wish you didn't see that. Back to you, Aimee.
In the news, Harrison Ford has been in a plane crash. He was flying a single-engine World War II plane and had to pull an emergency landing that he pulled off, but not without damage. The crash occurred on a golf course where some doctors stepped in to help care for Ford. He has some serious injuries, but is currently hospitalized and receiving medical care. Doctors do expect him to make a full recovery. Shania Twain has announced her final tour. She'll be hitting up 48 cities, which was announced on her website on Wednesday. She hasn't been on tour in 11 years, and this one will be her final. The Ringling Brothers and Barnum & Bailey Circus has told the Associated Press that by 2018, it will be removing elephants from its shows. The increasing public concern about the animals' welfare and treatment has led to this elimination. This decision was debated heavily according to Feld Entertainment executives. Cities have also been passing ordinances that make circus performances and elephant performances difficult. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Today's show is produced by Alejandra Araguin and Katie Tonkin. Hopefully next week we'll do something a little less spooky. See you all then.